Alright, hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at commas. And now commas have a lot of different uses. They're very versatile as a punctuation mark. So this video will be a little bit longer than the one about periods. Today we're just going to quickly define commas, and then we're going to take a look at several of the ways that they can be used. We're not going to list every single way because that would just be way too much. So we'll just look at some of the more common ones. So to define a comma, it's a punctuation mark that demonstrates a brief pause. So it's somewhere in the middle of a sentence, not at the end of a sentence, and it's going to just indicate that that's a place where you can take a breath. So one of the main reasons that you would use a comma is to separate words and word groups in a series of items. So for example, you can say, I like to read, travel, write, work out, and play music. And note that I took just a little bit of a breath between each statement, or between each item in that list, because of the commas. Another use of a comma is to separate two independent clauses that are joined by and, but, or so, etc. So if you need to take a look back at one of the older videos where I talked about independent clauses and subordinate clauses to refresh your memory, that's probably a good idea. So note that when you have this sort of situation, the comma comes at the end of the first independent clause. So, for example, the soccer player barely got hit, but he still fell down and grabbed his ankle. And I tried to exaggerate that pause a little bit more, just so that you can see there's a break whenever you have a comma. So the soccer player barely got hit, but he still fell down and grabbed his ankle. So you've got a full independent clause with the soccer player barely got hit, and you've got another independent clause, he still fell down and grabbed his ankle, and you've got a comma in between the two of them. You might also use a comma after certain words that introduce the sentence. So, for example, if somebody asks you if you would like $1 million, you might say, yes, I would like $1 million, please. Or you might say something like this, meanwhile, I tried my best to help. So whenever you've got sort of one word that's going to open up a response to something, you'll probably have a comma in there. Another use is to set off statements that interrupt the flow of a sentence. So for example, if we take a look at the sentence, I am, as everyone knows, making a series of videos, the full sentence would be, or the complete aspect of the sentence would be, I am making a series of videos. We don't necessarily need, as everyone knows, that's some extra info. So that extra info gets set off in between two commas. So I am, as everyone knows, making a series of videos. You can kind of think of it like a tangent or an aside a little bit. Or you might use a comma when starting the sentence with a dependent clause. So for example, before you do anything, you should make sure it's safe. So that subordinate clause at the start could not stand on its own. It's just giving a brief introduction to the rest of the sentence, and you would put a comma after that part. Now, one of the more complex or challenging aspects of using commas is when you are quoting something directly. So if you say, Roger said, great match, Milos, you should have a comma before what he says. Similarly, you might say something like this, hey, she said, I'm Kaylee. So if you have one quote that's being interrupted with a dialogue tag like she said, you would use a comma right before and then right after that dialogue tag. Okay, so that concludes the lesson about commas. I suggest going on to mygradebook.com and trying out the practice quiz and seeing how you do. If you need to refresh your memory, just watch the video again and hopefully that will help you out. And then try the quiz again and see if you've mastered the concept of a comma. Okay, good luck.